Hey guys, John Doering here with Scottsdale Living with Dan Isaac, City Council candidate, and my buddy Johnny Walker, who also a realtor here at my home group. So we're kicking off election season, and we're going to talk to quite a few of the candidates. Dan came highly recommended. Actually, Tammy Caputi had reached out to me and said I really wanted to talk to Dan, and I reached out to him. And thank you for coming, man. We really appreciate it. Thanks for coming aboard. Absolutely. So we're going to chat a little bit about Scottsdale, what's going on, and kind of get Dan's input and thoughts on everything that's going on out there. So we'll kind of lead off with a question that's kind of the top of a lot of people's minds, especially me as a realtor. But we didn't prep any of this, so Dan has no idea what's coming. But let's talk about short-term rentals real quick. So, last stats I saw was about 8,000 short-term rentals in the city of Scottsdale, which seems like a crazy number. And obviously there's a lot of money made there, but there's a lot of complaints. So what's kind of your take on that and your ideas?
So, although I believe in property rights, I think our state way overstepped their authority.
Sure.
And I'm not in favor of government overreach. And for them to tell a municipality or an HOA that you can't regulate these any differently than you regulate a long-term rental, I just think it's a gross overreach. And the problem is that short-term rentals are different than long-term rentals. And therefore, I think a municipality should have the right to put different constraints on it.
Sure.
Here in Scottsdale, you're right. I've seen numbers anywhere from 4,000 to 6,000 or 7,000.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Out of the housing market, and we have a housing crisis. And so, if you suddenly have that many units taken out of the marketplace, that's not great. Not to mention that in some neighborhoods, the bad actors, and they're not all bad actors, but there are enough of them, are really hurting neighborhoods. So, I think the state overreached, and we need to push back on the state and say, no, allow us to regulate, because tourism is important and we want to attract people, but also we've got plenty of hotels and other official lodging places that have different requirements, pay their taxes, have insurance and things like that. So I really think it should be back in the hands of the municipalities. And even if the city doesn't do anything, I think an HOA, if the majority of their members want to limit it within their neighborhood, they should have that right.
Yeah, totally. And I think the biggest concern lately has been the single-family residential without HOAs, right? So, that's where they're really going after. And, the rules, for anybody out there who doesn't know this, so the state has some type of legislation that says basically the state controls who can have Airbnbs and where and what they can do. But yeah, I love the idea of bringing it back to the city. And you guys, the city council members being able to manage that.
Airbnb this morning put out that they're not allowing parties anymore. They're actually going to regulate the renters in the contract, saying that you're not allowed to have a big party. I just saw it this morning.
Yeah,
so
it makes total sense. So let's go off to something on the side. So we talked a little bit about short-term rentals. We'll segment into, so we have a housing crisis, right? It's there is no, when I just say it, there is no affordable housing in Scottsdale. So for your average city employee, a normal 9 to 5 worker, it's a very tough place to buy a house. How do you change that?
Well, one thing is we can get some of these short-term rentals back into the pool. I don't think, realistically, our economics are such that Scottsdale is never going to be attainable to every rung on the socioeconomic ladder. But right now, you're talking about professionals, young families. We're not talking about just low-wage people who can't afford to live in Scottsdale. It's running the gamut, and we need to do something. One of the things is some of my fellow candidates have actively opposed development in our city, and the reality is the laws in supply and demand are universally accepted.
Right.
And if we don't have a greater supply, we're not going to see any downward pressure on the house. So we should not change our quality standards or a robust process, but there are areas within Scottsdale that can certainly hold multifamily housing. And there are places in our city that would actually benefit that area. And we have to be careful not to overdevelop, but just this absolute no that some of my fellow candidates put out, I think that's bad for the city. Because not only is it making it unattainable for young professionals and families, but it also prevents us from growing. And if we don't grow, then we stagnate. And if we stagnate, then what happens?
Nothing good.
You either cut services or you increase taxes.
Yeah.
And no one I've spoken with wants either of those things to happen.
Sure. Yeah, so great answer. I appreciate it. There's a couple things as a citizen that really confuse me a little bit. I'd love to get your input. So 2 topics, the same topic, but the Shea Corridor, it looks like they're putting in just a massive amount of units, whether they're apartments or condos. And then another one, just from a personal standpoint, we're at Rain Trainer 101 right now. So there's, the big parking lot across the street's got Walmart, Best Buy. I mean, they put in, I don't know, 600, 700 apartments in the middle of a retail space, and it just makes no sense. I just wonder, how does that get through approval when it looks like such an alien in the middle of a parking lot of a Walmart? I just don't get it.
And it's funny you brought that one up, because when I was gathering signatures,
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said, "Did you see they put an apartment building in a parking lot?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh no, you're exaggerating." And then I drove by. I'm like, "Hey, they put an apartment building in a parking lot."
Right in the middle.
Seems
Yeah, it's
like
crazy.
seems
And
like
they're not cheap.
Right.
I'm sure.
Oh,
yeah,
cheap.
it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Seems like an odd spot.
Mhm.
I wasn't familiar with the process with the Planning Commission or the DRB.
Right.
But we're landlocked. We've got limited
Yeah, yeah.
space, and
Yeah.
so somebody decided that the numbers worked and that people actually want to live there. It's not my preference of where we
Sure.
would build something like that. As far as the Shea Corridor, that's an interesting nut to crack.
Mhm.
I live off of Shea.
Mhm.
I deal with that traffic, and
Sure.
between 90th and 96th on Shea is, according to our traffic people, it's the busiest
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah,
road
it's
in
crazy.
Scottsdale, and it is a problem. What I don't understand, though, is that some people are dead set against anything being built there.
Yeah.
One plan that has since been withdrawn and might be coming back, specifically was going to replace a commercial building
Mhm.
that's not fully leased,
Sure.
and add to it a vacant lot, which attracts blight and
Mhm.
potential crime, and put what was a very nice building with lots of green space. And that commercial space, by the way, that lot, my understanding, is zoned for 4-story commercial.
Okay.
If that owner built a 4-story commercial building there, the traffic would actually be worse. And this is what people don't seem to know or fail to admit. Commercial has traffic all day long. If
Mhm.
you have a doctor's office, they're coming and going
Nonstop,
right?
sure.
Residential, people leave in the morning,
Mhm.
they come back in the evening. They might go out one more time. But in reality, residential in the same space is
Mhm.
going to generate less traffic. Now, right at 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the evening, there's a spike, but for the rest of the day, traffic is actually less.
Sure.
So, trust me, I don't want more traffic, but in reality, some of these residential developments would lead to less traffic, and the
Yeah.
studies have shown that.
So traffic as a whole is it's pretty much an individual thing, right? Because if you're coming from LA, traffic here is nothing. You know what I mean? If you're coming from Kansas, maybe it's something. But I mean, me personally, I don't get it, because I can be anywhere in Scottsdale, north to south, in probably 20 minutes, and I don't really see it as a stress point, but some people do.
I live at 101st and Shea, and
Yeah.
so I'm on it all the time. Sometimes late in the day, I'll take Cactus,
Sure.
going east, because all the lights at Shea with all the different businesses and everything there. I know that project you're talking about. I guess my question is growth? How's growth bad? I mean, if it's growth for the city, and that project, like the 4-story thing, I think if we're thinking about the same project, the 2-story red building with the drive underneath it, underground garage, I think that's the one you're talking about. But it's growth, so that's a bad thing?
I don't think it's bad at all. And also, we have Honor Health
Mhm.
is our largest employer in
Yeah.
the city by far, by a factor of 2.5.
Sure.
And I met with somebody from Honor Health, and she's saying, we're having trouble attracting at all levels, because why would people decide that they're going to fight the commute to get to Scottsdale
When they can't live in Scottsdale, is
they
that
can't live in Scottsdale,
yeah.
right? And they can work at another healthcare provider closer to home, and that
Sure.
means they can have 5 to 10 extra hours with their family. And,
Yeah, it's tough. I get it.
And that one development at 92nd and Shea was going to be perfect for the person who was a young professional who
Mhm.
happened to work at Honor Health, and they could walk to work, bike to work, and yes, in the summer they're not going to, but
Totally.
I'd rather they be in the car for 5 minutes
Mhm.
than a half an hour coming from one of the other suburbs.
I mean, we lose what they spend in tax revenue and
And-
shopping and going out and everything else.
exactly,
You know?
and
Yeah.
we lose all of the potential revenue.
Totally.
So, I mean, we have to be careful. We don't want to become a city of 500,000 people, and our general plan that was just approved by the voters and unanimous by the council doesn't have an aspiration of our being a 500,000 person city.
Right.
It talks about over 300,000, and it talks about increasing our housing supply during that time period as well.
Sure.
So there has to be thoughtful, sustainable growth. We have to be careful where we put it, but without it, we don't have the revenues, we don't grow, we don't provide the services, or we raise taxes.
Yeah. Well, with the growth, I mean, here's one that's just crazy. I mean, we just don't have water. I mean, it's like, I mean, you look at the lakes around us, and I'm not talking about Pleasant. I mean, going out farther, there's Lake Mead and Havasu and everything. There's no water. So I mean, how is Scottsdale going to be sustainable? Not just Scottsdale, but the whole valley. But for Scottsdale particularly, what are we doing to manage water, and what can you see down the line that could change?
And I'm glad you mentioned a couple things. So we do need to talk about water.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the most important things you said is it's not just Scottsdale.
Yeah.
And people act like Scottsdale is an island and that we can actually make decisions
Of course.
that impact us completely.
Right.
And the reality is we can't address these issues as an individual city. I mean, we're all getting water, different amounts from the Colorado, from the Salt River, or our aquifers.
Right.
So they're all connected. We can't solve this problem ourselves.
Sure.
And if we say no, and one sitting council member actually asked for a moratorium on all multifamily development until we solve our water problem, that doesn't save a drop of water in the valley.
Yeah.
Because 50,000 people are coming to Maricopa.
They're going to live somewhere.
They're going to live
no matter
somewhere
what.
and still be drawing from the Colorado Salt River and the
Yeah.
aquifers. So I just thought that was a short-sighted statement. And in fact, Scottsdale's water department is excellent.
Yeah.
And we do far beyond what was expected from our reclamation and recycling
Sure.
and the recharge back to our groundwater every year. We're ahead of many of the other valley communities. So if somebody actually moves to another community, they could end up using more water than if they lived here. Plus, multifamily development, and people don't want to hear it, is more efficient from a water use perspective as well as an energy
Sure.
use perspective.
Sure.
So, but water is going to be an issue for us. Right now, we are in a good position. Scottsdale in particular is
Right.
in a good position. There is no expectation of running out of water anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
But longer term, it's going to be a problem for the entire valley.
Yeah, totally.
So there's stuff coming down the pipe.
Yes.
That there's gonna definitely be issues with water that are gonna have to be addressed without question.
Well, I mean, Rio Verde's a great example, right? So not necessarily Scottsdale, Rio Verde, they have no water. The city's like, we're not going to give you any more water. I mean, so what are those guys doing? And it's a crazy little side note. At some point, do you look at Rio Verde being part of Scottsdale? I mean, annexation or however that process goes down. Is there thoughts in the city council that, and I know you're not there yet, but you're actually participating in the meetings. Has there been talk about how that could progress, or is it worth it?
And I haven't been a party to or researched those
Gotcha.
conversations.
Okay.
But yes,
I haven't heard that. I didn't. That's an issue? I haven't heard
Some
that.
people have talked about it. I mean, I don't know if it ever happened. I don't know the details,
but we need longer term solutions, and
Yeah.
those longer term solutions are going to require greater reclamation.
Mhm.
The runoff that we get from the monsoon is crazy. How much of that is
Yeah.
just sent straight down to the Gulf of California?
Yeah.
So we can get developers to do more for reclamation. We can change our sidewalks so that we actually have more penetration into the ground instead of runoff. The residents can also do their part. But the reality is 75% of water used in the valley is not residential.
Yeah.
It's agriculture and it's energy generation.
So we could go down the agricultural path. But we'll pass on that one.
But even if every city and every resident cut their use
Mhm.
by 50%, that's not going to solve our problem 10 to 15 years from now. We need to find additional sources of our water.
Sure.
And whether that is looking in the West Valley and the brine water and figuring out how to desalinate that, or finding a way to ship it cross country in areas that give access, we're going to need bigger solutions. And those bigger solutions are not something that Scottsdale can do on its own.
Sure.
It's going to require a significant investment by the entire valley. And we need to get the state and we need to get the feds to really get their butts in gear and address the
figure
situation.
something out.
It's great that we're attracting high tech to the
Mhm.
valley, and it's crucial for our economic sustainability.
Sure.
They're also huge water users.
Yeah.
So I'd like to tell the feds, if you want us to be less dependent on other countries for semiconductors,
Mhm.
you have to make sure that we can continue to produce them
Yeah.
here in the desert
Yeah.
Southwest. And so what's your long-term solution for water?
Right.
And like it or not, we need to change how we think about agriculture, not
Yeah.
just in the valley, throughout Arizona and also in California. Because unless we crack that nut, everything we're doing is
it's kind of pointless.
It's
Yeah,
kind of
totally. Yeah, totally get it. So, you're running for city council. You probably never saw that coming in the last down the pike. Give us a heads up. Why? I mean, what made you want to jump in and put your hat in that arena?
So, it's really a convergence of events. I retired recently. And
congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
As I said earlier before we started filming,
Sure.
I'm probably going to be eating dog food in 20 years, but I'm gonna have fun until then.
Yeah.
But I wanted to use my skills and experiences and give to the community.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
And it started with a very simple email to some council members saying, hey, here's my CV. I think I can help do something in the city. What do you think about getting on the board or commission?
Sure.
And one council member, 10 minutes into our first conversation, said, screw the boards and commissions, you should run for council. I said, that's not going to happen. That's not on my list of things
Here
to
we
do.
are.
That's not on my list of things to do in retirement. I did get appointed to the Board of Adjustment, served on that, but I was attending all of the council meetings in person or online. And with each passing meeting, I really was very concerned about the direction of our city. The lack of forward thinking, the lack of vision, the lack of a strategic direction. Not to mention the decorum in those meetings wasn't what I would consider professional.
Sure.
And with each meeting, I was like, wow, I have to do more. I have to do more. And then finally in February, which was very late to the dance, I said, okay, I'm going to run.
Yeah.
So you moved here from Chicago, you said?
Right. So
Well, I have a very important question. First question, of course, is Cubs or Sox?
I'm originally from Detroit, so Nina.
Oh, hello. You know what? We're going to just go with the Detroit tattoo right there. Represent. I'm from Detroit as well, so that's perfect.
That's totally
Tigers.
backfired on me.
Hey, and that was a Lion season ticket.
You know what?
Ticket holder.
It's the cross we bear, man. It's the cross
Watching
we
Barry
bear.
Sanders play was an amazing thing,
Exactly.
despite how horrible our
Absolutely.
our
There you go. Good job. Way to bring that one up.
Sorry, can't support either baseball or
sorry.
football team if you're from Detroit.
Cool.
But I first visited Scottsdale almost 20 years ago, and I kept coming back
Right.
because it really was special. And then 10 years ago, it's like, wow, of all the places that I could live, because my work was kind of flexible,
Right.
this is where I wanted to be. So I bought my first house 10 years ago.
Yeah, with the same path. I did it. I love it.
And Scottsdale is special.
Sure.
And I want to make sure it stays that way. Not
So-
just for us, but for future generations.
Absolutely. So I need to. What would be your number one priority coming into city council? What is one thing that you want to accomplish, change, improve? But just one. Give me the big one that you're really after. That you think about at night.
So my platform has 3, but I'm going to pick
Yeah.
just one
Yeah.
for you, and that's about strength, and specifically our economic strength.
Mhm.
Because without our economic strength, we don't have a chance of doing everything else.
Sure.
And my background is consulting. I'm an actuary. I'm a numbers guy. I ran a business unit.
Right.
Dealt with billion-dollar pension plans and things like that.
They weren't Teamster pensions, were
They were not.
Okay. Because that's a whole different movie.
But
Jimmy was a friend of mine.
Exactly.
but right now, if anybody thinks our biggest issue isn't the economy, I
Yeah.
don't think they're paying attention.
Right.
And Scottsdale is in a great financial position right now.
Mhm.
Prior administrations have done a phenomenal job of really managing our budgets and being forward thinking. This economic downturn that's coming, no one knows how long it's going to be or how bad it's going to be.
Could be pretty ugly.
But it's not going to be a good thing, and
Yeah.
we're not going to. We did well through COVID because of federal transfer payments and state transfer
Right.
payments.
Sure.
That's not going to happen if the entire economy is bad. We can't rely on that. Our revenue projections show that that's disappearing and going down. We're showing our expenses are increasing. We have to focus on our financials right now.
Sure.
And if we don't, again, it goes back to why do people want to be in Scottsdale? Because of the services, because of the amenities, because of the low taxes. And if we're not preparing for this, then we're going to be in a world of hurt.
Totally.
And one of the things that I learned in consulting with Fortune 500 companies for 30 years, and I've seen them through good times and bad times, the best time to make difficult decisions
It's when it's good.
is
huh?
when it's good.
Yeah.
And because when you can and when you can be selective. Don't
Right.
wait until you have to make the changes. Make them when you can.
Sure.
And you can be thoughtful. And that's where we are right now, and that's what I'm going to focus on. And I don't hear that being discussed at the council meetings.
Yeah,
And
it doesn't seem like it.
Instead, all I hear about the council meetings is, no, don't develop, don't be
Yeah, yeah.
attractive, don't
Yeah.
do this, don't do that. It's
Yeah.
like, what are we doing for planning financially?
So
Absolutely.
on a national level, the Scottsdale Unified School District got a huge black eye just recently, with everything going on, and I mean, it was on the news that their meetings are up craziness. Where do you stand on the education platform as far as the city of Scottsdale with the CRT and all that?
So I am very happy that I'm not running for the school board. Not only am I not qualified to run for the school board, but it's just gotten so ugly by both sides. There is, and this is true across the
crazy how
nation, not just with
political,
education, but our nation is being torn apart by false narratives, exaggerated statements, and fear mongering. And right now we've got the far right and the far left fighting over things that, when you cut to the chase, aren't crucial to our education.
Sure.
And the fact that our people on our school board have to have security details and have to wear, one mentioned that he's got a bulletproof vest, and I thought he was kidding, but he actually does, because of the threats that are occurring. That has no place
It's ridiculous.
in our country, and in the great city of Scottsdale. For that, it's wrong. So the school system is run separately and independently from the city, and I think that's a good thing, so that it becomes less political. What I believe strongly is that there needs to be communication, coordination, and collaboration between the city and the school district, but let the people who are responsible for the school district, who have the experience and have
is there any of that collaboration now between school district and city council?
I know that there's a little bit more than in the past. What we don't want to happen is for there to be any direct control or direction from the city onto it.
Separate.
But obviously there's coordination and collaboration. That probably needs to elevate. But in the meantime, we need the angry voices on either side of an issue
Just to calm down.
take a step back
100%.
and let's be
On
adults.
everything.
Let's be adults.
So earlier you mentioned you're running on 3 things, and we talked about one, which is the economic security. What's the other 2?
So strength is the first one, and primarily economic and financial strength, and then sustainability and security. And sustainability, again, it goes back to our land, our resources, our water, our energy source. If we don't have all of those things in a stable and accessible manner, we can't be as great as we are.
Right. Totally. Got to protect them.
And one of the things that's attractive to many people in Scottsdale, as well as our visitors, is the outdoor space and the preserve, our parks, and all of that. We have to make sure that we protect them and maintain them, because if we don't maintain them, then they become a fire risk or a safety risk or other things. And then security, it's primarily about making sure that our residents and our tourists and our first responders are safe. Scottsdale is one of the 100 largest cities in this nation. I mean, we're almost 250,000 people. We're one of the safest in the nation.
Let's keep it there, right?
Particularly with regard to violent crime. And our police and other first responders do a bang-up job. Right now, we've got vacancies on our police force. We've got some competitive pressures. We have far fewer people interested in being in law enforcement for a variety of reasons. The economy is one, the mistreatment by media is another. Right? So seriously, we have the smallest recruiting class that we've had.
It's almost
in
a bidding war going on now in the police field, right? I mean, I saw the city of Phoenix just way up there.
20,000 increase.
20
grand. 20 grand.
20,000.
So I mean, does it get that kind of feel where it's almost? I mean, you got to bring your game up, to get the best candidates.
So the good news is
Or any
that
candidates for that matter.
So the good news is that our pay level is still among the highest in the valley.
Okay.
There are some questions about the ladder and how long it takes to get to that.
Sure.
And Scottsdale has certainly got some benefits of being a safe place. It's, if your choice is to be in a high crime city or a low crime city, you might not necessarily need the highest pay. But we have to look at the pay. We have to look at the ladder and make sure it's competitive. Because one of the other problems goes back to housing now. If our law enforcement
they can't afford to
live here, and they can get a comparable pay, maybe not the same pay, but a comparable pay, and have
be 5 minutes away from home,
10 hours extra with their family, you do the cost benefit analysis. So we need to respect them, we need to support them, we need to train them, and we need to pay them appropriately.
Sure.
So it's not a city rule that to work for the city, you have to live within the city
No,
limits.
yeah, not
It's
Scottsdale.
Scottsdale.
It wasn't Detroit. It's not
It was in
Scottsdale.
Chicago.
It's
Chicago.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah.
we're always trying to be respectful of time. We're running up on that 30-minute mark. But so one question I always love to ask: favorite restaurant?
So that
gonna put you in the hook.
Yeah, that was asking the foreman. It depends on what you're looking for.
Okay.
For breakfast, Hash Kitchen.
Okay, yeah, it's fun, right?
And cocktails and people watching,
Yeah.
I said AZ88.
Yeah.
And if you just want a good time and it's not real Mexican but it's Southwest, I like Blanco.
There you go. Cool.
But recently a group of us went to Farm and Craft. Excellent
Yeah,
cocktails.
absolutely.
So I don't stick to one restaurant over and over.
Yeah.
I actually like.
So you make the rotations.
I do the rotations.
There's
So it's a little
legit
tough.
Chicago pizza place in town.
Which one?
Like legit. Crust Brothers at
Oh, yeah.
Scottsdale
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Shea.
Right,
by
it's
the
for
theater.
right, yeah.
Yeah,
The one
okay.
where
Yeah.
it smells right when you go in there.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
So give us your parting shot. What do you want to say to the people out there? And why should we vote for you? What's the thing?
So I mentioned that my background is, and I'm an actuary, so it's all
Mhm.
about facts and data.
Sure.
My commitment to the people of Scottsdale is I'm going to make decisions that are best for the city based on facts and data
Mhm.
and input from residents. And when I say residents, I mean all of them, not just the vocal ones that
Sure.
send an email on every issue.
Oh, yeah. There's
we've
a
got-
few out there.
We have 240,000 people.
Right.
100 emails is not necessarily indicative of what the people of Scottsdale want.
So let's spin that out real quick. And again, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but so there's a lot of talk of, is Scottsdale represented by a city council that's at large?
Yep.
So, you got North, and, North used to be right above Shea or whatever, and now you got all the way up to Troon. So should there in the future, should the city council look at having regions, and should the city council be voted by area?
So when that came up on the city council, I saw it on the agenda, and
Mhm.
I did 2 weeks of research.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm a geek.
Sure.
I want data, and
Yeah.
I read over a dozen academic papers on it.
Mhm.
There are 2 good reasons that a city should do districting.
Okay.
When it is so large in population or area that a candidate can't adequately represent
Mhm.
their district or the city, or if there is a significant underrepresented group of people, generally socioeconomic,
Yeah, sure.
race, religion,
Mhm.
whatever. Neither of those apply to Scottsdale. Yes, Scottsdale is very tall from north to south,
Mhm.
but a third of it is undeveloped, so that
Right.
doesn't even count. And if you look at the other cities in the valley, only one that's even comparable in our size and population has gone to districts. So and plus with social media technology, it's really easy to
You can get the word out.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So size isn't the issue. We don't have an underrepresented group of people that have
Doesn't
no
seem like
voice.
it, yeah.
Now some people will say, oh, but the people south of Scottsdale are underrepresented, but not because there's any barrier to them
Mhm.
being represented. So the 2 reasons to do it don't apply here. There are all sorts of downsides to it.
Mhm.
And if you lived in Chicago, you know some of the
Yeah,
those
you
downsides.
get the wards thing
Right,
and
right.
all that,
You,
yeah.
you get parochial
Yeah.
vision. You don't look out for the city as a whole. You get backroom deal making. You actually get a lack of progress. We don't need to further divide our city.
Sure.
And again, that's one of the things
I
nationwide.
like that statement. That's a good statement to
We
divide
don't need to
because you
further-
would. You'd be going north, central, south.
Exactly.
And it's always fun. You put a line somewhere on the ground and people are going to argue about it.
It's
And-
huge in Chicago. It's a huge
Yeah.
place.
And I spoke against it at the council meeting. But for the people who are really concerned about breaking the North's hold on city
Mhm.
council, I live south of Shea. I own property in South Scottsdale. Vote for me, and it's a twofer. You get 2 more. And the 2 incumbents who are running are both north. So if you
Right.
really care about,
Oh, man, shot over the bow right there to the north.
if you really don't want the north represented,
Yeah.
there are plenty of choices
Sure.
in this election, and that's my point. There are choices. It's
Yeah.
not that there's a barrier to representation.
Absolutely. No, I get it.
And I don't want to divide the city. We've got enough division going on in this nation, and back to the schools and things like that. Let's work together, because if we work together, Scottsdale can be even greater tomorrow than it is today.
Totally. This is Dan Isaac, running for City of Council in Scottsdale. Give us a parting shot.
That was it. I really, please watch the candidate forums. If you like what you hear, hopefully you will. You'll see that I'm different than the other candidates, because it goes back to facts and data and input from residents, and I'll make the best decisions for our city so that we're strong and greater tomorrow.
Thanks, John.
Great
Thanks,
job.
Dan.
Thank you. Yeah,
Really
thanks for
appreciate it.
coming by.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let me shut that down.